They were ordinary families chasing the American dream until nature trapped them in a frozen hell. Cut off from the world, starving and desperate, they made a decision so horrifying, it shocked the entire nation. This is the story of the Donner Party, a journey that turned into a desperate battle for survival against the unforgiving elements. In May of 1846, nearly 90 pioneers led by George Donner and James Reed left Springfield, Illinois, full of hope and ambition. Their destination, California, the promised land of prosperity. They followed the Oregon-California Trail, a well-known and relatively safe route west. For weeks, spirits were high. Families rode in covered wagons. Children played beside the trail. The dream felt within reach, but then came a fateful decision, one that would seal their fate. In Wyoming, the group decided to take an unproven shortcut promoted by a man named Lansford Hastings. Known as the Hastings Cutoff, it promised to save. Weeks of travel. Instead, it led them into hell. The terrain was brutal. Dense forests, steep mountains, and scorching salt flats. The wagons broke down. Oxen died. Time was slipping away, and they hadn't even reached the Sierra Nevada mountains. Supplies ran low. Tempers flared. The group splintered, some blaming Reed, others losing faith in leadership. One man even tried to kill Reed in a dispute. Reed retaliated, and in the chaos, he was banished, forced to ride ahead alone. By late October, with winter creeping in, the Donner Party finally reached the base of the Sierra Nevada. But it was too late. A massive snowstorm hit, dumping feet of snow in mere hours. The trail vanished under a white blanket. The passes became impassable. Trapped by towering snowdrifts, they built makeshift shelters at Truckee Lake, now known as Donner Lake. The storm raged on. There was no way forward and no way back. With dwindling food and no sign of rescue, the nightmare began. Weeks turned into months. They ate whatever they could: twigs, bark, boiled hides, even their own pets. Some died, others hovered at death's door. The once cheerful camp was now silent, filled with the groans of the dying and the cries of hungry children. Mothers tried to comfort their little ones with stories and prayers, hiding their own fear as their faces grew hollow and thin. In December, a small group of 15, later called the Forlorn Hope, set out on foot to find help. They trudged through blizzards with only scraps of food, frost biting at their skin, the sun offering no warmth. One by one, they collapsed. Starved and exhausted, the survivors faced an unspeakable choice. They began to eat the dead. It wasn't a decision made easily or quickly. It was a matter of survival. They wept for their fallen companions and prayed for forgiveness, but their bodies demanded nourishment, and so they endured. The Forlorn Hope eventually reached help. News of the disaster spread like wildfire. Horror gripped the nation. 4 rescue missions were launched over the next months, battling snow, ice, and deadly terrain. When rescuers arrived at the camps, they were greeted by a chilling sight: gaunt survivors surrounded by gnawed bones, huddled in freezing shelters, too weak to even cry. Some survivors were too far gone. They died even as help arrived. Others refused to leave until their children or spouses were buried, unwilling to abandon loved ones even after all they had endured. In total, only 48 of the original 87 survived. Nearly half the group had perished. Those who lived carried emotional scars for life. Some were celebrated as heroes. Others were shunned for the horror they endured. But the truth is more complicated. The Donner Party's story is more than a tale of cannibalism. It's a cautionary saga about ambition, bad decisions, and the human will to survive. They weren't villains. They were people, mothers, fathers, children, trapped in an unforgiving wilderness, with no rescue in sight and death closing in. And in the end, they did what they had to do. Their story echoes through history, not as a grotesque curiosity, but as a solemn reminder of how thin the line is between civilization and desperation. What would you have done in their place? Let us know in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe for more true stories from the edge of history.